Good morning. We're going to take a look at freight volumes, see if rates are increasing, and see what areas of the country you should be staging your truck in. Stay tuned right after this. Yes. Good morning. Hope all is well. It is September. Can you believe it's September already? It seemed like I went to bed last night and it was like June, and now it's September. And then the week before it was January. That's how fast this year is flying by. But it is Wednesday, September 3rd. It's a short week this week, thanks to the holiday. And we're going to talk about freight rates. We're going to talk about, let's get rid of this windshield here. We're going to talk about business stuff. And I don't know, should I be motivating or show you your impending doom? So, anyways, it just depends on what mood I'm in. I have not been in a good mood for the last few days. I did have a good weekend, I guess. Nothing horrible happened, and actually, something did good. Something good did happen. I was able to go out to my garage and play the guitar. And the neighbors now know the note that I know. John, 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 John. I was messing with my sound. I was messing with the amps. I was experimenting. And actually got a song written, to be honest with you. So that feels pretty good. I feel like my old self again. The old self that wasn't all ate up. Look, people are telling you things on the internet. I know. I'm telling you things on the internet too. But they're making you believe things that defy logic. That's how bad it's getting. And I'll just leave it at that. These conspiracy theory things, there's some truth to some things, but they're taking it on a whole different level. It's like, man, it's like, remember when you were a kid and you always had that, you're in your group. Let's say you're all like 12 years old, right? And you're in your little group, and then there's a little 5-year-old, right? And you, it's a challenge to make the 5-year-old believe anything you tell them. Like, oh, you see that house over there? It's haunted. 15 people were unalive there yesterday, and there's ghosts, and and the kid's like shaking because he doesn't know any better, because you've got him fooled, right? That's literally what's happening on the internet right now, to the T. Like, this comet, like, you got people drawing pictures of spaceships that look like a comet, saying, "Oh, this is." You know what? Here's the deal. I hope, for the love of God, I hope and I pray that that comet is a spaceship, and that we start seeing some action on this earth that's very similar to Independence Day, that movie, where it destroys the White House and it destroys, all these big things, and only Will Smith, a drunk pilot, ex-pilot guy, and that dude from Jurassic Park can save us. That's the only people that can save us. That's the only people that have figured things out, right? I hope that Independence Day was a training film, because Terminator was. James Cameron was stating, I know this has nothing to do with trucking, but James Cameron was like, "Look, I tried to warn you guys. And this AI thing is just exactly that." I mean, that's the world we live in, right? The earth is not flat. It is round. There's evidence. So, I mean, it's just little things like that, right? But at any rate, let's get on to the trucking, because, you read one thing and it says that we're getting ready to poise for a recovery. And then you watch another thing that says doom and gloom, the economy is going to collapse. Hope, right? You've got websites on everything, not just trucking, but you got websites on everything telling you that they're giving you false hope. And then you've got websites giving you no hope. Now, the trouble with false hope is that once you realize it's false, then you go back to no hope. And that's what the enemy of our souls wants to do. He wants to kill your hope, right? So if you're consuming websites that tell you that all these different things, right? And you find your hope in humanity, and you find your hope in your heart starting to disappear, stop. Just stop. Go outside, look at the sunset before you, or look at the sunrise before you, and know that you are being given a gift, because other people don't have that gift today. There are people that didn't have the gift of a sunrise this morning. There are people that will not get the gift of a sunset today. That is what's important. Alien ship, bring it on. Flat Earth, that's ridiculous. The next pandemic, whatever, right? Live your best life today, right now, and don't let these outside influencers influence what you're consuming. All right? So, anyways, let's go to the comments here, and then we will go over some freight reports, and then we'll go over some volumes and stuff like that, because that's what you're really here. You're not here to hear me speak. You don't care what my views and values are. You just want to see the awesome colors on the low board. You want to see if there's more green than red. You want to see the in and out ratios, because you're totally ate up with this trucking thing. So much so that you've sacrificed your health and your family and everything that you hold and love dear. You've sacrificed all of that for the love and die hard of ride or die trucking. That's what you're here for, right? Oh, I'm in a mood today. I am in a mood today. So let's go to the comments here. STTN, what's up? Morning, Bullwoods with this fancy font with the horns. I finally looked up that K-bar, TJ, and it is super expensive to the point that this one YouTuber was like, just get this one. It's like the same thing, but it's like $50 or something like that. Gary Cook, good morning. What's up? Hope you're. Oh wait, you haven't done orientation yet. Ratman Roden, good morning. Morning, boss. I'm glad that you took your a moment of your day to say hi. I know you're a very busy and important man, so I appreciate your time, sir. Thank you very much. That's my other channel, so make sure you subscribe. That I got the ugly dude there in the avatar. Let's see. What's good in the Mizzou? Are you talking about like the college football team? I have no idea. All college football. Will, good morning. Motivate. SST, what's up? Snorelord chat, good morning, folks. Grind and pray, what's up? Snore. Oh, I already said that. Sterling Wheel, good morning. Taco Bell. Dude, that almost looks like Taco Bell. If I don't have my glasses on, so me, but Bull the Woods, TJ. Agreed. Make apnea great again. Make apnea was great. Apnea was great. I will brag about my old band, but that band is in the past. The new stuff I'm working on is going to be just as good, but in a different way. Proud of you for the music, and thank you for letting me feature on my channel. You're welcome. Thank you for featuring the music on the channel. Yep, soon to be hit by missile. My name is Nobody. Good morning. Let's see. Sterling's limping. SSD, people don't realize how hard it is to speak the truth to a world full of people that don't realize they're living a lie. Edward Snowden. Yes, that's the thing, right? Master of perception is required today, trucking life. Otherwise, it's true. Everybody's talking to Sterling. CDN, what's up? Oh, amen, Snorelord. Thank you. Look, I can't get up here and lie to you. I can't get up here and paint a pretty picture. Nor can I ignore the outside world. So it's a fine balance of telling the truth, but not killing your hope. Truth should never kill your hope. Truth is a way to heal. Truth is the way to the light. Truth will set you free. There's some truth to that. Oh, man. Grateful to see this day. Good deal. CDN, I don't know if I said it, but CDN, thank you for everything that you do. Good morning. Hope you're doing well. Some of us are already living the pod. Live today as if you're gone tomorrow. Use your anger to smash that like button. There you go. There you go. I'm going out of this world the way it came in. Naked, screaming, covered in blood. There you go. Is COVID coming back? I don't know. Depends on what website you're watching. Okay, so let's say it is. What are you going to do about it? Did we all learn from the last time? And if it's not, is that fear manipulating you, right? I always know that there's an uptick in somebody's algorithms when something is supposed to be going around, because then you see an increase in mass. I'm sorry, if you wear a mask, but you go to the buffet, yeah, that's a little bit redundant, because you're touching things that other people have touched, and buffets aren't the healthiest place to they're the let me rephrase that. They are the best places to spread germs. I mean, think about it. Next time we go to a Chinese buffet, look at all the people eating. Wipe their hands on the napkins, and then they go get their food. They go get plate number 4, right? Think about that for a minute. Think about that. But hey, you got your mask on, so you're good to go, right? Last year we lost a load to a lower weight. Guess what? It'll happen today, tomorrow, next month, and next year. Yes, that is true. So what are you going to do about it, right? Rates are going to rebound and come back. What are you going to do about it? Rates are going to drop 30% next week. What are you going to do about it? See, that's the part. Those are the YouTube channels you should be watching, is what to do about it. Hey, alien spacecrafts coming towards Earth. Okay. What are you going to do about it if that's true, right? You know what you're going to do about it? Nothing. Except raise your cortisol levels with that fact, right? TJ says, you've always been genuine in our eyes. We appreciate you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. SST says, where are we going? Why are we in this handbasket? All right. CDN facial recognition with highway.com. My brokerage now requires customer facial recognition on new credit requests. Fraud activity has entered customer side of business. Extra steps required. Wow. That is real news, ladies and gentlemen. That is real news. That reminds me, let me find something real quick. All right. I got to do this in a way that doesn't reveal. I'll just have to read it. I can't show you on the screen what this is, but I'm going to read part of it. Don't eat, go buffets. Still trucking, says Quick Hit. Good deal. The hand dryers in the restroom are the best spreader of airborne mass casualty creations. Yes, I agree with that. All right, so I got this email from a broker looking for, hey, I have this load. Can you cover it? It was Michigan, New York. Of course, I didn't really have anybody cover it, but I was thankful to be on the list, right? The signature in the email reads, a federal law already requires truck drivers to be proficient in English to operate a commercial vehicle in the U.S. In April 25, President Trump signed an executive order directing the Department of Transportation to strictly enforce this existing law by issuing new guidance, revising out-of-service criteria to include violations of the English language proficiency, ELP for short, standard, and rescinding prior Obama-era policy that relaxed enforcement. This means that drivers who, and this part's in bold red, this means that drivers who cannot demonstrate sufficient English skills may be placed out of service and prevented from driving until they comply. Now, why would this broker put this as a signature in his or her email chain? Interesting, right? Very interesting. Now, I don't know what kind of changes are happening out there. And I'm still seeing a lot of loads that, are impossible to do on transit time. I didn't see that as much last week because of the holiday, of course, but interesting how, I've been doing this job for like 3 years now, and it's interesting to see the amount of change that's happened in just the 3 years I've been doing this. And then when I go back to the origins of like trucking, and when I first started in the spot market, the game is completely different. It's crazy how many changes have occurred in the last 7 years. So Bull says every government site like ID ME requires facial recognition plus physical ID like a DL, driver's license front and back. Liability, yep. CN says, I suspect that broker's customer added that ELP requirement. Yes. Which is going to be common because as people have pointed out, if your truck's out of service, like let's say I'm a broker and I have a load that's going from point A to point B, and that truck gets shut down, how do I recover my load if the driver, see, if you get shut down for a bad tire or bad brakes, a mobile mechanic can come out and fix it. Okay. If you get put out of service for your hours, once the hours are corrected, boom, you can go. But what do you do if you're put out of service for the English thing? Does anybody know? Does someone that can pass that test have to come and rescue that truck? So that's the world we live in now. That's something that has to be considered in this game now. So SST says, I try not to think about the future of the Western world. So anyways, that's I saved that email because I wanted to read that. And I'm starting to see the same thing on rate confirmations. By the way, I hope you're having, this is Morning Coffee Live. Hope you're doing your thing with your coffee. If you're not a coffee drinker, then, well, I'm sorry. You're missing out. Let's see. Pam, what's up? We'll have a conversation after this. I'm seeing ELP mentioned in Raycons now. Yep. It didn't take long. And so things are kind of janky right now. So just kind of keep that in mind. So we're going to share the screen here, and we're going to go over some of the freight report stuff. And then we'll get into the low board stuff. We'll see if the South is woken up. Probably not. And we'll see what the average rates are looking like here. So let's see. Share screen. There we go. All right, that's our screen. CDN says every oil and gas site has had ELP requirement for the last 10 years. It was not an ELP test, but safety orientation. Part was verbal. This is not new, just crossed into all industries. Right? But it's for everything now. Okay, so here's the overall market. This is your gauge for people that don't like to read. Overall market is still soft, obviously. Reefer and flatbed are in the loose category, whereas van is still soft. What we want to see is the tight and very tight. We want to be in the red and the yellow. Neutral's good. Neutral means you can do good, right? So there's that. That gauge did move a little bit though on the van. It was a little bit softer. So that's kind of good news, right? Let's take a look at national spot rates according to DAT. 206 in July, 204 in August. So we'll see what September brings for van. For flatbed, it was 255 down to 249. So flatbed saw a bit of a decrease. And then reefer is actually held, it dropped a penny, 241 a mile. So take that as you will. I sound redundant, but don't pay attention to those numbers too much. Just pay attention to the trend. Triumph. Now, this used to be a green screen things. Now they're using Triumph. Top lane movers by Triumph. Omaha to Kansas City's gone up on a 30-day trend. PA to New York has gone up. Atlanta to Chicago has gone down, and Columbus to Laredo has gone down. So there's your lanes. The below chart is showing the last 24 months of Logistics Managers Index. The takeaway from this graph is that LMI is up slightly from last month, but below earlier peaks. Let's see. There's another one up here. This one showing the transportation price index over the last 24 months. Takeaway here is that prices have dropped significantly from the prior month. Let's take a look at that. Again, that's a trend. We're definitely not doing like what we were doing in July. So that's what that tells me. Let's see. Consumer confidence is it is what it is, right? I know a lot of this stuff is boring, so I don't want to get too lost in the weeds on this, but I'm just giving you the short facts, right? Subjects, which measures relative capacity in the market, increased to 6.38%. So that's where that green gauge is a little bit higher than it was last week. The van outbound increased to 5.9, so we're not hitting that 6 yet. The record low was 2.3, so we're not at that level yet. Flatbed increased to 12.52%. Reefer outbound decreased to 14.6. Basically, what that does is an indicator of capacity conditions. Declining numbers indicate carriers are losing pricing power, while increasing numbers indicate carriers are gaining pricing power. So what this tells me and what I've experienced is sometimes I can get a good rate. Sometimes I have to settle for what I can get. So U.S. Court of Appeals for the federal court found that the emergency law that the White House cited to impose broad import tariffs did not give the administration the authority to levy the tariffs. The court allowed the tariffs to remain in place through October 14th to give the administration time to appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. So we're still dealing with the tariffs. The EPA is moving to block a California emissions law. Deploy roadside emissions monitoring devices and screen the emissions output of vehicles operating in California. The new freight marketplace offering from Trimble has announced its first significant shipper to join the platform, Procter & Gamble. Unlike traditional load boards, the freight marketplace emphasizes contractual arrangements such as mini bids and RFQs. Here's another thing that says core inflation rose to 2.9% in July, the highest since February. Wawa has announced it will offer parking for commercial vehicles at its travel centers, the first of which opened last week in Hope Mills, North Carolina. DHL, UPS, and FedEx have announced added surcharge fees for the peak shipping season. That's a given. Kraft Heinz is splitting up again, so evidently they're getting divorced. Self-insuring carrier Seva Logistics lost over $25 million in 24-25. So, here we go. This is another thing that kind of it does anger me a little bit. The 6 persons have been indicted in Louisiana on federal charges for selling, passing grades, and approvals to applicants seeking to obtain a Class A commercial driver's license without them ever taking the necessary tests. You see, I called that years ago that was happening because of what I was witnessing on the road. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a person try to back up a truck that literally probably there's no way that they passed any kind of test, right? The domestic transportation emerging from summer doldrums with the pre-Labor Day seasonal bump, showing gains in outbound tender rejection rates and dry van spot rates. However, overall conditions remain soft with freight demand declining and volumes constraining growth. Now, here's what I mean. Okay, this is what I was talking about earlier. That is a fancy way of saying it could go either way. So the only thing that you can really do, the only thing that you really have control is how do you handle what is in front of you, and how are you handling your expenses? What's your long-term growth look like? What does your short-term resolution look like? There you go. That's all we can do. I'm going to give you the facts. I'm going to show you what market rates are doing. Maybe give an opinion on a load or two, and that's it. If it strikes fear in you, then figure out where that's coming from. If it strikes anger in you, figure out where that's coming from and deal with those two things. If it strikes like, oh, I see opportunity, congratulations. You're on the right track. How can I turn this into opportunity? Right? I had a millionaire tell me that one time. How can I take this negative situation and make it into an opportunity? It won't be long when the fast food police will implement ELP. Cheap fruit goes away if farm police implement ELP at orchards, fields. Freightways dropped a video about spot market freight drying up. It has title, look at the map. Look at map, not just low boards. I watched that yesterday. And it was very informative. And I was supposed to. I meant to share it on my community channel or community page, but I did not yet. It's probably something I was going to take care of today. What is the desired rejection rate for the spot market showing healthy market? Anything above 6 with the trend word of upward, right? So if you take a look at, let's take a look at this chart, right? So flatbeds at 15%, and they're still in the loose. What's the percentage that needs to put us in neutral or tight? That's a good question. But at our lowest, we were at 2.3. Right now, we're flirting with 6, but we're not quite there. So, and contracts they're being managed. So rejects aren't coming up. Right. Fact, highway is creating the low board. Many brokers will switch as they know only approved carriers will call in the low. Be ready for massive switch in 2026. Things are brewing. I agree with that. And DAT is fixing to do something that's going to annoy me. Yesterday, they said, you want to try our new authentication thing. And it gives me a QR code. I scan the QR code. It does not give me the code that I needed to get in. It just shows a website. And so I was able to skip for now, but they're saying, but in a month we're going to implement this. So their bad technology is going to catch up to them, and they're going to lose even more customers. Now, if you guys remember, I did a YouTube short where I asked a question during their live feed about how do they feel about all these brokers that are not using the DAP board anymore? And they said, well, they're not leaving the DAP board. I'm like, okay, whatever. And so, and this is why they don't endorse me. Because I speak the truth. Now, is DAT the top, one of the top resources if you're in the spot market? Yes. But they can't get a handle on this fraud thing, right? They're just making it harder for the honest people. And it's getting stupid, right? And so what Highway has done is they're looking at all the weaknesses of the DAP board, and they're gonna fix those issues, and then they're gonna become the low board. So I agree with you. Your mom and pop brokers will still use DAT, the ones that your factoring company won't cover, right? So there's still no platform to help small carriers screw brokers other than your factoring company. Google reviews, word of mouth. Maybe I missed something. I don't understand that question. Highway will put DAT out of business. Probably. Mr. Jeffrey Likes in the house. Good to see you, my friend. Shippers will not let the market get tight. Why? No need for just-in-time freight. Urgency in the market is what tightens up the market. Massive delays in ocean would create such a situation short term. And that's one of the things that FreightWave said yesterday in that video that you were talking about, CDN, is that there's no urgency. And so, with that being said, you are informed, right? People are now informed that there's no urgency. So how do you? This is the field. This is the deck of cards you've been handed. How do you play the field, right? There are still people in the spot market that are making money. Is it easy? No. But you can be consistent. You can watch your expenses and hustle. You may not be able to go home as much. You may have to run some lanes that you're used to running. You may have to deal with more brokers than you normally deal with. But it is possible. It is doable. But keeping the cost down, that's the important part. Oh, you meant screen brokers. Okay, so let's reread this with the word screen. There's still no platform to help screen carriers, or no, help small carriers screen brokers other than your factoring company. Google reviews, word of mouth, maybe I missed something. Each load board has a section where you can read comments, and there's a star rating. DAT has a star rating for brokers. But due diligence is the only thing, right? So, like, if, for example, we've got a couple of drivers that are constantly booking with brokers that we're not set up with. And so what we'll do is, what Jeff and I will do is, we'll look at the broker, we'll look at what the factoring company says, and we'll look at the phone numbers, we'll look at the email addresses, we're looking at everything to make sure that this is legit. And then the contract comes in. We had one where the contract came in, it was a completely different company than what was on the DAT board listing. And it wasn't a DBA thing, because some brokers have a DBA, right? And so we actually called the broker that this was trying to look like, and they said, no, that's not us. We're a forwarding company, and so someone is scamming you. And a lot of brokerages, to circumvent that, they come up with their own platforms like CH Robinson, RXO, RTS. They all have their own websites. How hard or easy is it to get in those websites and book freight is probably, dependent on what their technology is, right? Ask anybody in spot market company to another. It's a pain in the butt to change all your email addresses to the new apps and all that. You almost have to pretty much create a new email address and get verification from the carrier. Echo says highways on a roll. Yep. Josh, good morning. You missed everything. Watch the government produce rate report. Watch the government produce rate report. Run the produce areas during produce season and select areas when reefers are not taking the dry freight. Just one way to get better rate in this area. That is true. Use the resources that are there, right? And 123 load board has that. They shouldn't be allowed to deviate from the safer info when they list on the board. So here's what happens, right, AGCO, is, and this is when a broker's been scammed on the DAP board, right? So you might see, like, let's say RXO post a load, right? But in the comment section, it says, only, and the email address is a Gmail account. Hey, stop. Sorry, dog's going after the cat. It's chaos here. And that's when you know the broker's been compromised on their DAT account. A friend of mine ran into that with an Uber load. He called Uber and they're like, yeah, that's not us. Don't book that. Don't call that number. And so the first sign that there's a scam load on the load board is they'll flood the load board like DAT. You'll see 20 posts from the same broker. You look up the broker on the factory company, it doesn't even come up. And the rates are ridiculously high, right? Oh man, I found this load for $5,000 going from Michigan to Florida. Normal rate's about 28, 33 if you're lucky. So it's either a round trip, drop trailer, or it's a scam. If it's all caps and it's a 7-digit number, I don't even look at those sometimes. So and that's the biggest challenge when you're a new person dispatching yourself to the spot market is learning how to filter that. My eyes filter that pretty automatically. And it's just second nature to me now. And so yeah, you have to screen. You have to, call, verify. And some of these brokers will have emails, hey, if you believe this is false, here's, verify it with SaferWeb. Call the phone number on SaferWeb, right? I booked a load with King of Freight one time, and we got to the shipper or the town of the shipper, and I couldn't get a hold of anybody. I'm like, oh crap, I've just been scammed. And so I went to my factoring company, went and looked up their phone number because nobody was answering their phone. Nobody was answering the phone. I even tried a different phone number. That's a little trick. If you think a broker's ignoring you, try your Google number if it's got a different area code. Okay. If you don't have a Google number, then what are you doing with your life? Okay. And then I called the main 800 number, and nobody was answering that either. I'm like, okay, this is a company problem. And since then, they are on my do not use list. Because it costs me and the driver a lot of money. So you learn those lessons the hard way sometimes. I use RTS Pro app to see ratings on brokers. That's good. That's good. So, anyways, let's go to the maps. That's why you're here. This is the 123 low board 48065. If you want to try it out for free for 30 days, don't take my word for it. You can see all the available tools, such as market rates, one of my favorite tools that's pretty accurate. Profit calculator, that's pretty accurate. It's only as good as the numbers you put in. What's up, doggy? This dog's like, dude, I'm bored. Quit talking in that weird thing and let's go outside. Load availability, I use that quite a bit. And what's great about this is put this on van. And let's see, hover over each of the states to see the quick in and out ratios. Like Texas has got 469 outbound and 631 inbound, 215 intrastate. That gives you all three right there at a glance. Does it have the volumes of the other low boards? No, but They don't have nearly as many problems as the other low boards as well. So let's do Illinois. Illinois is 555 outbound loads. Here we go. Charleston, Illinois to Pendergrass, Georgia, 1528, 244 mile. Let's take a look at this. It just posted a minute ago. Picks up today. Someone probably dropped off of this. 626 miles. So is it pick up today, deliver tomorrow? Or is this a 2-day run? So if this delivers on Friday, then you have to figure out what's your market going to look like for your weekend load coming out of Pendergrass, Georgia. Pendergrass isn't too far deep. Puts you in the Atlanta market pretty much. 41,000 pounds. You can, there's the name of the broker. It's ATS, which they do have a website and an app as well. No tolls. Dispatch fee, you can call that as your, like if you're at an 80-20 company, then you can put your 20% there. That's what I've done. Your total profit after fuel and percentage, and then in tolls, and there's my profit per day. Cost per day is $433. It barely profits, but it does profit $438 a day. So I've increased my profit margin, or my cost per day on this. It was a little outdated. You can sort this by age. You can sort this by highest rate. That usually brings up your long haul stuff. For example, here's Antioch, Illinois to West Palm Beach, Florida, $257 a mile, $35.41. They got several of those, and then $1.66 a mile. So basically the same amount of money to go all the way to Washington. Now, remember, it's chain law season now. Started September 1st, so just be aware of that if you're going out west. $1.41 to California. That's a little bit higher than it normally is. Arizona, Illinois, Arizona, $1.63. $2.71 a mile. So check this out. So let's say you had to go to Arizona, right? You can just Illinois to Tolleson, get there straight through for $3,000, or you can take this load to Colorado for almost $3,000, and then get a lower paying load, obviously, because it's Colorado, to go down to Arizona. And probably make a little bit more money if you two-step it versus the one shot, right? Little strategies like that. That's what you have to do. You have to come up with strategies for what's in front of you. The more limitations you put on yourself, the more opportunities you miss out on, right? Here we go. 307, $3 a mile to go to Maryland. They're paying a little bit more to go from Illinois to Northeast than they are to Florida. This one's not bad. $2,400 to go to Fayetteville, North Carolina, out of Aurora. Let's take a look at this one. $40,000 says paper. Nothing special. No multiple stops, and it's higher than normal. So I'm curious about this one. So what that does is like, okay, what's North Carolina look like? Maybe it's a better rate because North Carolina is not great, right? Well, decent volumes, 172 coming out of Fayetteville. So let's take a look at these. You click on this. You can see your backhaul options are, and you can also sort this by rate. Having to go to California from North Carolina versus the $1.60 that they're wanting to pay out of Illinois. Tell you what, if you live in California, man, you got a hard. If you're a truck driver that lives and owns a truck out of California, man, you've got a hard life, dude. I'm telling you, you got a hard life, man. You know, between EPA stuff and the rates going in, and you know, the 55 mile per hour speed limit and the fuel prices out there. That's a hard life. Somebody who has a trucking operation out of Los Angeles has a different business model than the person that owns a trucking company out of Columbus, Ohio. That's why I don't do this one all thing, because there's no such thing as a one size fits all in trucking. Well, we know Click and Go is not a proven model yet. Convoy closed and Uber are struggling. Why? Carriers want ability to negotiate rates. Shippers not willing to give loads may not get covered. I think part of the reason for the struggle of the Click and Goes is because you're negotiating with the computer, right? If you put, like, let's say there's a load posted for 2,000 and you put in 3,000, the computer will actually shut you out. It's the computer's way of hanging up on you. You know, in the old days, you call the broker, like, I need 3,000 for this $2,000 thing. Okay, click, right? So if you go above a certain percentage, you won't even give it a response. Now, with what you just said, here's what I dealt with Uber. Okay, I'm not trashing them. I've used them quite a bit, especially in my own truck. But here's what happened. So they have a bidding thing now. Now, JB Hunt, if you bid on a load, it will tell you, like, it will interact with you, right? It'll interact with you. But when you bid on Uber, and I've mentioned this to them, it doesn't tell you your bid is being considered. Your bid is under review. It just you put your bid in and that's it. And I put a bid in for a load that was picking up on Tuesday between noon and 3 p.m. going out to Arizona. No email tell me that my bid's being looked at. Nothing. Absolutely zero clue that they even got my bid, other than bid entered, something like that, right? No email telling me yay or nay. No renegotiation, no counter offer, right? And then at 6 o'clock, 3 hours after the window had passed, I saying, we approved your bid. And so for the shippers that are using these Click and Go systems, there has to be a human element in place, such as C.H. Robinson. Now, the trick with JB Hunt is you can't put, like, what it'll do is, like, let's say there's a load that picks up from 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. in Arkansas, okay? And you put in a bid. If you don't put in an expiration time and date, it will default to the latest possible time of that window before they will even look at you, right? So next thing you know, let's say you're 2 hours away to Deadhead at 3 o'clock, you get your bid approved. Well, now what? You can't make it there in a half an hour. And so you have to be wise to those things. And so what I tell people is, when you bid on JB Hunt's Click and Go thing, put in an expiration time of 15 minutes. Of when you posted it, not when it picks up. Make sure you change the default to 15 minutes, because you don't want to wait around for 3 days to find out that you got the load. Because what JB Hunt does is, once you win the bid, they give you the load. And what that does is supposed to be like, well, you know, if you bid, you better be able to do it. Whereas Uber, at least, I just don't respond to it if I don't want to do it, which is kind of a crazy way to do things. If you don't respond, that means you don't want my offer. If I don't respond, that means I don't want the load. That's a lot of bad communication to do business. That's why Uber is struggling. That's why Convoy closed. Because you still have to have the human element. Now, what I learned at Convoy was I could call after I put in my bid. Or if they called me, that means that they're willing to negotiate. and they want to bypass all the computer back and forth. JB Hunt does the same thing. All these different brokers have different ways that they do business, right? The way all their different apps, RTS, JB Hunt, CH Robinson, TQL, they all have their different methods of negotiating and bid and countering bids and all that, right? Ryan Transportation likes to not even counter. They like to counter you with the same amount that the load's posted for, right? Nolan has been pretty good with rates lately, and they will call you to negotiate. RXO is half and half. Sometimes they'll call you, sometimes they're like, yeah, whatever, just let it rot, right? So there still has to be a human element because the computer's going to make mistakes. So if I was a shipper that was dependent on Uber to move that load that needed to move at noon, and it was 6 p.m. and they finally accepted an offer, a human could have caught that. A human could have said, you know what, this ain't going to work. A human could have called the shipper and said, dude, we need more money because everybody's countering with this amount of money. And this is what the lane is paying. So, and a lot of it, like, I talked to a rep from RXO, and I'll put in my bid, and he'll email me and say, hey, I saw your bid, but they're only going to go past this amount. So, I know that's below market rate. So the human is aware it's below market rate, but they're only doing what the computer gods have told them to do. And so that's the other limitation, right? Chief Ray Haller, what's up? Click and go will not work when a shipper sends a list of loads to 10 different brokers who are bidding for those loads. Yeah, there's a lot of that. Good morning, Shannon. Oh, you got rid of the AI person. So, wearing her light trucking hat. That is well weathered by now. So, just kind of keep that in mind, right? So let's go back to load availability. This is for all. Let's go to van. Pretty much the same story. Just stay in these states. You'll do okay. You're gonna make you should be making a little bit more going into the yellow states. Oklahoma, if you're in Ardmore, you're going to utilize the Dallas market. If you're in Oklahoma City, you're kind of in no man's land. And but get a shorty up to Missouri or Kansas and then go from there. Tulsa, you can utilize the Joplin market. It's only 100 miles out. Or the Fayetteville market. So, yeah. So, and then California screen. Let's see what's going in and out of California. Let's take a look at this here. This is all for van. So let's do the highest rate. Let's see where the long haul. And what's cool about this is you can do outbound, interstate, or inbound right off the bat, right? 5,500 go to Connecticut, $1.83 a mile. They're above rate check right there. They're $200 more higher. So check this out. So you've got less per mile to go into Connecticut. Let's see what the cost here is. Total costs are $160. So if you go to this total profit part right here, 1841.30. All right, remember that 1841.30. Let's go to the one to Florida. That's $100 less. 1841.30. Look at that. You make more money on the net side. This is at 2,000. So you make almost $200 more doing this load to Florida than the load going to Connecticut, even though the one to Connecticut pays $100 more on the gross side. This is the kind of stuff that you have to look at. Now, both loads are below my cost per day. Actually, yeah, on the profit. Now, Raycheck's got this at 64. They're at 54. So there's room for improvement here. To go to Florida for less than $2 a mile can be a losing game, especially, at 42,000 pounds. So just kind of keep in mind, don't pay attention to a lot of these gross numbers. Look at what your net would be. Here's the one I would do. Ripon, California to Jacksonville, Florida. They're at 5,400 as well. It's at $2 a mile. Probably get them up a little bit. I would say probably can get this for 56. But let's not assume. Let's say I'm a horrible negotiator. We do this for 54. I'm going to net more than the other two loads showed, and I'm going to actually gross $1 more than my cost per day. So that overall big number, you don't want to let that's me about chasing the money, right? What's the net give you? Little Viking coach used to make fun of me because I used to say, what's the net? The net is the important part. When someone's trying to recruit you to a company, oh, dude, our drivers make $8,000 a week. Okay, what's their net? Because you can gross all day long, but if you don't keep any of it, what good is that? You're just in a different tax bracket. Now, CDN says, but the Florida load, you need to account for deadhead out of Florida for next load. Not necessarily. Miami, yes. But see, if you grab something, anything, that protects the profit from the first load. But yes, you do have to account for the losses on the second load. But you'll have the same problem out of Connecticut as well. And then add tolls on top of that. So at least when you did out of Florida, you can get away from the tolls. And the fuel is cheaper, right? So that's the difference. McGee wants to see flatbed freight out of Indiana. We can do that. So close that. Close that. Let's put this on flatbed. And we'll throw step deck in there too. Apply. $228 outbound, $815 inbound. $1.86 go to California, $224 to go to Utah. If you click on that, what's your outbound look like? Scroll down here. 0. There's only one load in Utah going anywhere. So yeah. Let's do highest rate per mile. This brings up a lot of the short stuff. So if we were in Indiana, what kind of shorty will give us a good rate per day? So let's click on rate per mile. Shelbyville to Louisville, 105 miles for $830. I don't know if I'd mess with these $450 loads, but 72 miles, if you could do, 3 a day, that's a lot of tarping and chaining or strapping. So we scroll down until we find a good, here we go, $1,000, East Chicago, Indiana to Kaukauna, Wisconsin. Look at that. See what the outbound looks like for Wisconsin. Not bad. 137 loads. 62 going back to Indiana. So that might be a good lane. So what that does is like, all right, let's take a look at this map. Can we do Wisconsin? Now it shows Wisconsin red here, so I don't know if you could do Illinois, Wisconsin, and back. Here's another one: Terre Haute, Indiana to Detroit, Michigan, 410 a mile, $1,500 for 366 miles. Not oversized, single coil, must start rack and chain, load 7 to 5 by appointment, delivery 7 to 4, first come, first serve. What's your outbound look like? 0. So that'd be a losing game there. You'd probably have to deadhead into Ohio to get something. Here we go. Here's a low going in Ohio. Newburgh, Indiana, Cortland, Ohio, $2,000 for 500 miles. Step deck, 48,000. It's a little heavy. It's paying a little bit more than what rate check is. So that might not be a legal weight load. And let's look at outbound. Yeah, pretty decent outbound coming out. So there you go. So that's your map for flatbed step deck. And then let's go to reefer. Reefer's all over the place. That's produce talking. And now check this out. Now CDM mentioned the produce report. Click on this tab, reefer rates. And this gives you rates quoted represent open spot market sales that shippers or receivers pay depending on basis of sale per load, including broker's fees for shipments and truckload volume to a single destination. Extra charges for delivery to terminal markets. Multi-pickup, multi-drop shipments are not included unless otherwise stated. Rates are based on the most usual loads in 48, 53-foot refrigerated trailers from the origin shipping area to the destination receiving city. The 10 cities of destination are Atlanta, Baltimore, Boston, Chicago, Dallas, LA, Miami, New York, Philadelphia, and Seattle. So you can, I don't understand a lot of this, but it shows you what's shipping out of where. Like a lot of lettuce, cauliflower, cabbage, broccoli is coming out of California. So nice little tools on this. Like I said, 48065 if you want to try it out. There's my banner. If you want to support the channel, there you go. Let's go back to comments, and then I got to end this feed. I've been live for over an hour. Can't figure out which job is harder: a dispatcher dealing with brokers or road service tech changing truck tires roadside. Well, one's more dangerous than the other. The dispatch has to deal with truck drivers, right? You're welcome, McGee. You're welcome. So, all right. Yeah. So, anyways, thank you for letting me rant to you for today. Let's look at in and out ratios. What states are the best? Alabama, not so much. Arkansas looks okay. Arizona's no good. California's good. Let's see the usuals. Florida is 3,400 going in and 895 coming out. Iowa looks good. Georgia Georgia's 2,600 going in, 1,900 coming out. So you're going to struggle to get out of Georgia a little bit for a good rate. So just know that going in. Illinois, 2,400 going in and 3,600 coming out. Indiana, 1,600 going in, 2,100 coming out. Kansas has got more out than in. That's rare. Not by much though. It's probably a span. Here's the thing. Let's click on Kansas here real quick. Like how many of these are multiple postings? Like here's Axel. Spring Hill, Kansas to Salt Lake. Olathe, Kansas to Brookshire, Texas. Okay, these are different loads. See if we can find an example. TQL, here we go. Hutchinson to Union City, Georgia. They got Plano, Texas. Okay, these are different loads too. Wow. So Kansas isn't bad. Yeah. So the back dashboard here. This is for Van, by the way. Louisiana's got more out than in. Kentucky is about even. Missouri, 1096 in, 1500 coming out. Mississippi looks decent. North Carolina, not good. 2177 going in, 1469 coming out. New Jersey, 1265 in, 2040 out. So if you hate Jersey and you go to the Northeast, then you're going to struggle a little bit because that's where all the outbound loads are. New York looks good. I got a decent rate out of New York yesterday. I was pretty happy with it. Ohio, 2600 coming in, 31 going out. PA, 25 going in, 32 out. So the market is normalized as far as like the Southeast. South Carolina has the best in and out ratio. They're even out of all the Southeast states. Volumes are up in the Northwest, so that's good. Wisconsin, 1,300 coming in and 2,200 coming out. Even West Virginia's got more out than in. That's not by much, but not bad. So anyways, that's what's going on. Red Lady, good morning. I got all the 3+ modes. Yep, you sure did. So anyways, thank you everyone for watching. Support the channel if you can. If not, watch your expenses. Because, where else are you struggling, right? So anyways, I appreciate everybody for watching. Hopefully we'll be live Friday. Strength for today. Hope for tomorrow. And yeah, we'll see you later. Thanks for watching. Peace. Yay.